Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samdiego here, along with Adam Lemery, Ben Schneider, and Joshua Burt. Encourage everyone to be sure to visit their links to their YouTube channels as well. Special happy birthday to Adam. Of course, you were out and celebrating yesterday. And a special hello to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin. Join them by investing in the Grid Network, keeping us on the air. And to everyone in the chat room, see we already got a comment from Amber Lewis again, and that pretty much leads us into what we're going to talk about. Formula One Qatar Grand Prix. We saw what I thought was a pretty good race, considering we heard the news this morning that Max Verstappen had a five-place grid penalty. But he made quick work of that, just getting up to second place by lap 5. Bottas, he was handed that penalty as well. This penalty was for gas again, that flat tire, the two of them ignoring the yellow flags during qualifying Q3. In the end, Hamilton untouchable for Max today. One of the big things for Verstappen, great start, was really up there, but just did not have the pace, and with no DRS help, just nothing for Lewis today. And really, the big thing, of course, everyone's talking about, the gap between the two is now 8 points. Why is 8 points significant? If the winner was to get the fastest lap, that is 8 points. And essentially, you could see potentially if Lewis Hamilton wins the next race and gets the fastest lap, Verstappen and Hamilton tied for the championship, entering Abu Dhabi, that will just steal headlines all across the world. Truly, today we saw what Lewis was doing, just looking really strong and fast. I have to ask you all, starting with you, Josh, today, did Lewis Hamilton truly win it all, the momentum and everything? Or does it Red Bull feel like they come out with a win considering they had to minimize the damage?
Red Bull have had one of the days from hell. You hear about it quite often, don't you? Mercedes had one a couple of weeks ago in Sao Paulo. Red Bull have had it this weekend as well. It's just been ridiculous. Penalties for yellow flags, phantom yellow flags as well, that I could see on the stream deck here up in the comms box, but I couldn't see them out on the track. Then they got retracted and put back out again. And then all of a sudden, drivers are getting penalties for these phantom yellow flags by one marshal who put it out on the circuit as well. It was very, very bizarre. Eventually, they just had to red flag Q3 at the end just to make sure that everybody was okay. So, yeah, Red Bull have had a horrible weekend. Perez started 11th. That was not great. He fought back up to third at one point, then finished fourth as well. They pitted him just before the virtual safety car came out, and everyone sort of got a free stop. They wanted to pit Perez to try and stop Hamilton getting the fastest lap, but then the virtual safety car came out, so Verstappen could pit, put the softs on, and get that bonus point back. For Verstappen today, 5-place grid penalty, 90 minutes before the race it was announced. That is not good for your mental ability for the race as well, but he grabbed hold of it, fought back, took back into second place as well. After 5 laps, he was already back up there, so it wasn't really that big of a difference, but he just couldn't catch Hamilton. No matter what the advantage was, Hamilton was on it. He didn't do well in practice. Verstappen took FP1, Bottas took FP2 and FP3, but Hamilton, as soon as it came to qualifying, Q1, Q2, Q3, did it all as well, and he got the every lap led here today, and he took pole position and took the victory. 102 for wins and poles, nice stat, and the first time since the 2007 US Grand Prix they're actually level for the first time, his wins and pole position tally. So yeah, I think Lewis has walked away with it this weekend. I think it was important for Mercedes to do that, and I expect the same when we go to Saudi Arabia, because I don't think Red Bull will have the advantage there, considering that the engine that Lewis ran with this weekend was actually the one that was fitted in Mexico. So the one he took the penalty for last time out in Sao Paulo is being saved for Saudi Arabia in 2 weeks' time.
This championship's going down to Abu Dhabi. Lewis Hamilton basically started on pole today and completely dominated. Max Verstappen got as high as second, but couldn't catch that Mercedes. No matter how hard he tried, the DRS wasn't effective. And Lewis, when I was watching Josh's watch log yesterday, Josh can echo this. I said Lewis Hamilton would win the pole, and I was right.
You did?
And he just took off and was lightning in a bottle. Nobody could catch him. Even after all the pit stops Lewis had, he still came out in first. And thank you, Amber, for the birthday shout out. I appreciate that. Lewis Hamilton has said now it's game on when we go to Saudi Arabia. From what I've seen, the track is pretty much almost complete. So I believe we will have a race there, and then it's all looking like it's going to be a Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, a 12-round heavyweight fight at the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Get your popcorn ready because you'll need it.
Well, the answer to the question, very simply put, is yes. Lewis won the weekend. He won the pole and he won the race. The only thing he didn't win was the fastest lap, which went to Max, and 6-point swing in the championship back in Lewis's favor. But absolutely a moral victory for Red Bull. I had a feeling Max Verstappen would finish second. I didn't think he'd get up to second quite as quickly as he did. Phenomenal start for him. I wish he had been on the front row. It might have been a pretty good fight into turn one. But I want to take a look at the constructor standings for just a second as well, because I think that championship is equally as important in many respects to a lot of people involved in the sport. It was a 6-point swing for Mercedes in the Drivers' Championship today. Obviously, Lewis on 25 points, Max on 19, 18 plus 1 with the fastest lap. In the constructor standings, you had Sergio Perez finish fourth. So that's 12 points. 19 and 12 is 31. Lewis on 25, obviously Valtteri on 0 with his retirement. So it's a 6-point swing in Red Bull's favor for the Constructors' Championship. And right now, Lewis has an 8-point edge or an 8-point deficit, I guess, now to Max. He's cut the gap even more. Red Bull now are only 5 points back in the Constructors' Standings to Mercedes. So that championship is actually closer right now than the Drivers' Championship even is. And both championships look like they could go right down to the wire at Abu Dhabi. And it's something that we haven't seen in so long. And I just really wish that Formula One fans all around the world, no matter who you root for or pull for on Grand Prix weekends, respect whoever comes out on top of both of these championships, because this has been a season to remember. As we've said several times in this program, we're going to look back on this year very, very fondly.
Very, very fondly this season. It has just been entertaining. This race, if Max was up there in that front row, I think it would have been a much different story. It would have definitely been a battle entering turn one. And one of the things I predicted yesterday too was I thought if Max was in that front row, he would get the lead and Hamilton would have to get around him using the DRS and the main straight. Now, also yesterday, Josh, you had mentioned that there's going to be a 2-stop race. Well, Pirelli said that was the best way to go. Several teams tried to make it work with one stop. It didn't work. We saw Russell, Latifi, Lando Norris had that puncture. AlphaTauri, their day just went nowhere. From front row, the two, neither one did scoring points. Gasly, just nothing after getting up to the front row. And then Alpine, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, third place. What an effort. We said they were going to be up towards the front ahead of AlphaTauri. Fernando Alonso got the podium. I couldn't believe it. So I'll start off first with Ben, and then Adam, you could chime in as well, and then we'll go to Joshua. But we all agree about the Alpine finish. But Alonso third place, how big of a shock was that for you?
Maybe a shock to newer Formula One fans who don't recognize or haven't gotten to see the greatness of Fernando Alonso. Of course, he's a double world champion, and I think that's something that's important to remember. And Alpine as well, race winners this year with Esteban Ocon. So I think when you factor those two things together, it was only a matter of time before they hit it off like this and got close to the podium, got an opportunity to get Fernando back up there. It's been far too long for a driver of his talents. He endured several tough seasons with McLaren, stepped away for a couple of years, and just kind of won Le Mans a couple of times. Had an opportunity to go win the Indianapolis 500 in 2017. Ironically, his McLaren Honda engine let him down again. But anybody who's followed Alonso's career knows that he is a generational talent and somebody that Formula One is very lucky to have back on the grid again and back where he belongs, sharing the podium with two of the greatest in Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. I wonder at the end of all of their careers how many world championships we're going to be able to say were represented by today's podium, because you got to think Max, even if he doesn't win it this year, he's got a couple in his future, and Lewis, 2 more years with Mercedes, who knows what's going to happen. But absolutely great to see Fernando back on the podium, and maybe a surprise that it happened this weekend and how much speed they showed, but certainly not a shock. I think you had to expect it was going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Fernando Alonso on the podium earlier today, and really happy for him. You could say that Max Verstappen was in the middle of a world championship sandwich, with Lewis Hamilton having his world championships, and Fernando Alonso has won a few as well. Really happy for him after the year he's had. Really glad he was on the podium here at Qatar. And for those of you who don't know, if you didn't watch Josh's watch along, Josh's sister Megan was pretty happy about the outcome with Fernando Alonso getting third on the podium. She's probably a pretty happy camper right now, and Josh would probably agree with me.
I would, absolutely. In fact, while you were speaking, Adam, I called her on the phone and said, is there any way you can get to the commentary box quickly? Unfortunately, she can't. She hasn't got her shoes on. But honestly, she was absolutely... Oh, I'm just getting information now. Christian Horner's been given an official warning over his comments he said in the pre-race show. We'll hear about that more later. But yeah, Fernando Alonso getting that podium. I don't think it was a shock to anybody, as we've all been saying. Megan, however, was absolutely delighted and was keeping her fingers crossed and everything throughout the last couple of laps. That virtual safety car, I think, really helped Fernando in order to keep the advantage. And then she crossed. She called him crossing the line as well, and she's absolutely delighted. She was jumping up in the commentary box. I've never seen Megan that animated in the commentary box before. I've been that animated. Amber says, what rules are there in changing engines? Well, you can change them, as you know, maximum. You can change them as much as you like, but each time you change a whole set of engines, it's a start from the back of the grid. But in terms of the internal combustion engine, that's a 5-place grid penalty. MGUK and H is a 10-place grid penalty. Gearbox is a 5-place grid penalty. Those sort of things, you can change them. And once you've got those in your arsenal, you can swap them around as much as you like. So you get 3 to start the season. You get 3 of everything to start the season. And then you start taking penalties with 4, 5, and 6. But as soon as you've got those, you can swap them around, do whatever you like with them. And that's why Lewis ran with the Mexico engine here today. He's going to run with the engine he had in Brazil, in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, Alonso being on the podium, not a surprise at all. I thought he might have a shot of winning the race actually today. But P3, fantastic. Life in the old dog yet. And I think Megan has already said to me, when it comes to the end of the year, when we do our big greatest moments of the season, she's already got hers with this Qatar Grand Prix. And I think that's nice. It's nice to see that she was happy Alonso's coming back. She was happy he was doing well, and she's over the moon. He's just got a podium. If he wins a race in this season or next, I think her head might explode.
Yo.
When it comes to Fernando Alonso, seeing him back on the podium, I still remember his first win in Hungary way back when he was with Renault F1, and of course Renault F1, the old Benetton team from back in the day as well. And what's really unique with his podium today, he is the third driver over the age of 40, joining Michael Schumacher and Nigel Mansell to be on the podium at over the age of 40. And of course, all 3 of those drivers have won F1 World Championships. Taking advantage of the misfortune, of course, that AlphaTauri experience. Essentially, AlphaTauri, front row starting spot with Pierre Gasly. You had Yuki Tsunoda in the top 10 scoring, but then they both finished outside the points. Ferrari, in their tense battle with McLaren, they scored double points, and for a while, it wasn't looking good for Leclerc. New chassis was outside the top 10 in the start of the race, but just worked his way. Whereas for McLaren, Lando Norris, they detect that puncture. He had to make a pit stop. 9th place finish. So not a whole lot of points. And then Daniel Ricciardo, no points. And what was really interesting in the post race, for some reason, near the beginning of the race, his McLaren showed fuel error, and he had to be in fuel saving mode just about all race long, just compromising the race. Now, Ben, Adam, we talked about yesterday the slide McLaren has been experiencing. Starting with you, Adam, are you more shocked by McLaren's slide since Sochi or AlphaTauri's slide, even with their front row starting position today that they had?
I'm surprised about McLaren. They've had pace all year long, and ever since Russian Grand Prix or Sochi, it seems like they've gone downhill. Like you mentioned, Daniel Ricciardo scored no points at all today. And I was kind of shocked to see. We've seen the intense battle all year long between Ferrari and McLaren, and right now it's looking that McLaren's slipping away, and Ferrari's going to be third in the Constructor Championship. I am surprised that AlphaTauri has been really good this year. I'm surprised that McLaren after Sochi hasn't been really competitive. Really surprising to me.
Yeah, it almost like a perfect storm of events now for Ferrari not to take third. McLaren, I guess I'm trying to do the math here in my head. It's throwing me off these half points that we have from Belgium, but I think 39 and a half back from Ferrari. So that's almost a full race, 44 maximum possible if you win with the fastest lap and take second. It's looking like it's pretty much game over for McLaren on that front. But I've got to say I was also surprised by AlphaTauri today as well. Pierre Gasly, I thought, had a chance to end up where Alonso was, maybe get another podium this year. I know he had the podium in Baku, and looked very, very strong. Had a great opportunity starting on the front row and a bit of a surprise there, and just kind of disappeared throughout the race. Didn't even end up finishing in the points. So, I think for AlphaTauri, I don't really know how you can give this weekend any other grade rather than, an F. I know that sounds harsh for a guy that was on the front row and a team that was on the front row, but when you're on the front row, you have to capitalize on that, and they just absolutely did not have the pace in the race to do that. So it has been kind of surprising to see McLaren go from that 1-2 finish in Monza, and Lando Norris, I think a lot of people have already forgotten, nearly winning in Russia. If it weren't for the rain, maybe he would have had a shot to do that. Their slide has certainly been surprising as well, but AlphaTauri in particular today, it was very surprising that Gasly couldn't even so much as finish in the points after starting on the front row.
I believe Helmut Marko is reporting the two drivers for firing squad in the morning. Coole Itviks. But seriously, what happened? Gasly was second, FP1, FP2. He started fourth on the grid as well. And then he started second after the penalties applied. This was a golden opportunity for a podium. And they just made so many errors as well. The pit stop was wrong. The strategy was all wrong. Let's just take a look at the starting grid if I move my notes here. Pierre Gasly started second. Yuki Tsunoda started this race in 8th place. They finished Gasly 11th with Tsunoda 13th. It is not on. It is far from not on. This is honestly, I think that Helmut Marko and Dieter Renken, not Dieter, Mateschitz, the big O owner, he is going to be on that phone to AlphaTauri as well, saying, you had a golden opportunity today. You've blown it. And they are going to walk away from this track with their heads held in shame. Honestly, I've never been more disgusted with the team than I am with today, because they threw away a podium, they threw away good points, and now they've let Alpine get the advantage to them in the Constructors' Championship. Has been a flawless drive. Ocon defended with Perez, and that gave us a great battle. And Alonso held on for third place and dealt with Gasly at the start. It was unbelievable with what happened today for AlphaTauri. So, I think Helmut Marko definitely getting the firing squad ready.
Helmut Marko, not a great day when you look at the numbers. The one driver that I would say from Red Bull AlphaTauri that at least made big improvements, Sergio Perez, started 11th place, came back to 4th place, could have had that podium, but they made that extra pit stop, was catching up. That safety car essentially eliminated his chance of getting to third, making a double podium for Red Bull, but still fourth place considering he started 11th. Compared to Valtteri Bottas, was third, got that penalty, was still starting ahead of Verstappen, but a slow start. Wasn't really making much progress. The team had to radio him, you need to get going. He got going, he was in third place, and then next thing you know, that tire just punctured, went out, ruined his race, and then next thing you know, he was done for the day. The one retirement in today's race was Valtteri Bottas. And of course, we saw Lewis Hamilton asking, where's Valtteri? He knows he needs Valtteri there. Max Verstappen knows he needs Sergio Perez up there, not only for the constructors, but to manipulate the strategy. 2 versus 1, you could have one go out longer, the other one a shorter strategy. Really force the hand of that lone car. So starting with you, Adam, with 2 races remaining, including potentially, and it very looks like potentially, the Saudi Arabia circuit, it is coming along pretty quickly. Which team's in the best position to help out their championship driver? Are you looking at Sergio Perez as being better equipped or Valtteri Bottas?
That's a hard question to answer, but I'm going to have to go out and say Sergio Perez is going to be more helpful than Max Verstappen because we all know Valtteri Bottas at the end of the year, he's leaving. So to me, I don't know if he wants to help Lewis Hamilton win the championship, but we're seeing here Sergio Perez in his 4th today, and Bottas had a DNF. You have to say advantage Red Bull right now because they have both the drivers in the points. So to me, I think it has to be Red Bull. I know we're going to an unknown in Saudi Arabia, but then we go to Abu Dhabi. We don't know what's going to happen there, but I believe Red Bull, I believe that Checo Perez will help Max Verstappen.
I'm glad you went for Perez because I was going to go the complete opposite way and do Bottas. It's kind of nice. We've got 2 opposing positions here. Nice for the panel and nice for the viewers. I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas. He's got the best position in the last 2 races. He really likes Abu Dhabi. He's won there before. And I think he'll really suit Saudi Arabia. For the being that, they did a tactical retirement today, did Mercedes. They retired Bottas not because of any damage. They retired him to save that engine and to save all of the components because they want to keep that engine for Saudi Arabia. And then the brand new one he took a penalty for a couple of weeks ago, shove that in for Abu Dhabi. They want Bottas right up there. This weekend, it wasn't working for him after qualifying. He started really strong as well with topping FP2 and FP3. Then he played the team game as well. It wasn't his fault he got a 3-place grid penalty. I don't agree with any of the penalties that the drivers got today, Bottas or Verstappen's, because it was a phantom yellow flag, in my opinion. It didn't exist. The only thing what was new existed was the red flag at the end of the session. Other than that, I think Bottas was dealt a bad hand today by the FIA. And I think he was dealt a bad hand in the race as well because they had to concentrate on keeping Lewis ahead. So I think Valtteri has got a very strong mentality that he wants to go out on a high with Mercedes. He's got a brilliant relationship with Lewis. They really are like brothers. He wants to help him win that title. Absolutely. And I think he will help him as much as he can in Saudi Arabia. And I think he'll be a pinball in Abu Dhabi.
Well, both of you make convincing arguments, so it's tough for me to make my own. But I think, if you asked me this after Turkey when Bottas got his lone win of the year, and of course Sergio has a win this year as well in Baku, so they're level on that. I would have said Bottas hands down. But just the way Valtteri really his entire Mercedes career has gone, like we've been saying, on his best day he is close to, if not actually unbeatable. And on his worst day, he's outside the points and he's scrapping at the back end of it, whether it's his fault or not. So he just seems a little more hit or miss to me. The second Red Bull, you can say the same thing about that ever since 2019 as well, when we're left in Gasly and Albon. And now, although I think Sergio Perez has done the best of the 3 in being teammates with Max Verstappen, he has certainly had his weekend. This weekend in particular as well. He couldn't even get into Q3. He recovered brilliantly to come back and finish 4th. But both of them seem a little hit or miss to me. So I don't know that I mean, it's very difficult for me to pick one of them hands down. But I'll just say this much: whoever's going to win this constructors championship, I think it's going to come down to the performance of the second driver just as much as it is the first. Obviously, the first drivers, Lewis and Max, are going to be fighting for the drivers' championship, but it is so important for both Valtteri and Sergio to be able to help their teammates, not just to win the drivers, but also to give Mercedes or Red Bull the edge on the constructors as well.
It's the Webber and Button complex, isn't it? When McLaren and Red Bull were fighting each other in 2010, both their drivers had a shot at the title, then it swung around and they just helped the others. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. But in this instance, I think actually Sergio Perez is more like Jenson Button and Mark Webber's more like Valtteri Bottas in that respect. It's very much a swing and roundabout thing.
It's back and forth between the two. One of them has a podium, the other one has a lousy race, and just seems to keep going back and forth. And we have a question from the chat room, and we'll start with Ben to answer. From Amber, who finishes ahead? I assume this is the points. Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc? So, Ben, you take your first guess, and then we'll go Adam, Josh, and then myself.
It's a good question. Fortunately, I've got the standings up here right now. I'm actually a little bit more interested. Looks like Lando Norris is 1 point ahead of Leclerc, so that's a close battle. The fight may be over for McLaren in the constructors, but or all but over, at least. Obviously, mathematically, they still have a shot, but that's a very close battle. Sainz is looks like 6 again. These half points throwing me for a loop. 6.5 points behind Leclerc, so it's certainly very close. Could swing either way. I think just mathematically, I've got to give the edge to Leclerc. He's in a better position right now, and it's still Carlos's first year with Ferrari. I think he's done a very solid job, but Leclerc, I just think has more factors working in his favor. I think he'll retain the edge over Carlos Sainz in the point standings this year.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Ben. I think Charles Leclerc will finish ahead of Carlos Sainz Jr. this year, and in the F1 standings, both of them have had really strong seasons. But I have to give the nod to Charles Leclerc, and it's Carlos Sainz's first year in the Ferrari, so Leclerc has more history being in Formula One, so I'll give the nod to Charles Leclerc.
I absolutely agree with my two colleagues here. Charles Leclerc will definitely finish ahead of Sainz as well. Sainz had a good race today, actually. And he did some fantastic maneuvers alongside Perez as well, and Gasly too. I think it was the ones calling as well. 2 seconds, because we've just had something else from Christian Horner. He's been given a second warning for another comment he did pre-race as well. So Christian's been given. I tell you what, I would not like to be the Red Bull media delegate and the technical delegate who's got to go up and have all these penalties given to them, because I'm sure their soles of their shoes are being worn out. But yeah, I think Leclerc is definitely going to finish ahead of Carlos Sainz in the standings as well. Sainz, he started off really well. I think he's the driver of my season for the new team guys, who has really got to grips with the car quicker. We saw it, what was it, day 2 of preseason testing, and he was already like 2 seconds faster than Ricciardo was with McLaren. And Vettel as well with Aston Martin. That was a good one as well. But yeah, I think Leclerc is definitely going to beat Carlos Sainz. But I did said to me earlier, how nice is it to see the Spanish flag back on the podium earlier on as well for the second time this year, of course, after Monaco, when Sainz finished second.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make it unanimous. I think Charles Leclerc is going to edge out Carlos Sainz when it comes to the standings. And of course, they're closing in on Lando Norris, who for the longest time was comfortably in third place, sliding down, continuing that slide that McLaren has been on since Sochi. Now, in the past, one of the big debates we've always seen has been about the runoff areas and pushing punishment for essentially going wide. Most of the time we have pavement, so drivers are able to go wide without any consequences unless they get summoned by the stewards. This weekend, if you were in the green and white curbs, especially not just the tires, but the wing, bad news. We saw 2 chassis replacements, one for Mazepin, one for Charles Leclerc. We saw grass getting tossed up because you went a little too wide. There was some grass. There was some deep gravel. So really, you had to keep it in between the lines or the white and red curbing. Now, Ben, starting with you, this debate has been going on all season, multiple years now. When it comes to track limits, what was your take on this weekend, especially since we had those kind of more abrasive off-track punishments if you went too wide and the drivers going over it? Where do you stand on the paved runoffs versus gravel, grass debate?
Well, it reminds me of the debate in NASCAR with the double yellow line rule at Daytona Talladega. I think in a lot of respects, and you see it at Watkins Glen as well. I think even when Lee Diffie came over for NBC to do his 2 Cup races in 2017 when Rick Allen was doing the Track and Field World Championships in London. Obviously Lee knows the rule, but being sort of newer to NASCAR, not on the broadcast every week, he was asking some people even, what is the deal with the track limits? Because clearly it's legal, everybody does it. But going to Watkins Glen and seeing just how wide they run, it's a little bit surprising when you consider, kind of what his background is, having done Formula One for several years, and obviously just how strict the track limit rules are there. I think there needs to be, first of all, a balance between, and I'm right there with you, Amber, with the double yellow line rule. There needs to be a balance between what NASCAR does everywhere aside from Daytona Talladega, where it's just it looks kind of ridiculous with how wide they swing out, and what's the point of even putting the curbs there or the lines there on the track, because they don't enforce it at all, and having these massive runoff areas where it actually makes more sense to run wide or take a longer way around, but you don't scrub off as much speed. There needs to be a balance between that and what Formula One does, where we see these petty little 5-second penalties or whatever, 3-second penalties, and you delete a lap time here, delete a lap time there. I think the general rule of thumb for a driver mentality is that if I can drive over it and it's going to assist me in my lap time, I'm going to use it. And, I think the track limit debate could be solved very easily. As long as it's safe, mind you, I think, that needs to be, safety needs to be a factor taken into consideration as well. But natural track limits are to me the best track limits. When you have grass, when you have curbing that can't be run over, when you have gravel traps, and obviously the wall is a natural track limit as well. If drivers can't use it, they're not going to go there, and then the problem kind of takes care of itself. So as long as it's safe, as long as it's done safely, I'm all for natural track limits, and I think that that kind of takes care of the problem for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ben. Natural track limits to me are the way to go. We've seen gravel traps. I think they have running is called, if you lose it on a road course, you can run into the gravel traps and they actually protect your car. So, I agree with you, Master Bots. Today's race was a solid 8 out of 10. I like the gravel traps on road courses. I think it's a safe way to go. And grass as well. So overall, I like the natural track limits, but on a road course, I love the gravel traps. I love the grass because I think it saves the car from at least going into the wall and doing more damage.
First of all, the FIA owe me a lot of money this weekend for printer and paper, printer ink and paper as well. Great podium, by the way, says Master Bots as well, because what a fantastic podium it was. As I said in the commentary, how crucial is that as well for Lewis Hamilton? Do you see him on the podium? He's looking at one side. Oh, there's Fernando Alonso. He's the driver I beat, and he was at the top of his game in 2007. I beat him, and I became the greatest of all time. Looks the other side. Oh, there's Max Verstappen, the driver who could do exactly the same thing to me. I thought that was a very poignant podium in Formula One as well. And I think that could be, one of those that get framed in motorsport galleries and says, this was the moment. We've got Lewis Hamilton, who dethroned Fernando Alonso, and we've got Max Verstappen, who'll dethrone Lewis Hamilton as well. 3 generations of world champions. Hopefully as well, Verstappen wins the title as well. even in the future, he's going to be a world champion. Don't you deny about that. But I thought that was a very special podium. Getting back to your question, yeah, the FIA owe me money for printer ink and paper this weekend because the amount of track limits they've changed. And first of all, there was none in FP1, then there was some, then there wasn't, then there was again, then the whole track was track limits, and then it wasn't. It was completely bizarre. I think it hasn't helped that this weekend is a bike track. It really hasn't worked because this track, MotoGP, first race in 2004, it was designed exclusively for motorcycles as well. So it just hasn't worked really in terms of policing the limits. You can't put gravel right at the exit of the track because MotoGP needs some runoff area. They need to slide. And then if you're in the gravel, if it's a really fast accident, start turning over. We see in the Reth in MotoGP with accidents there. If you go off the track, there's gravel immediately and riders get hurt. And they break their legs as well. Marc Marquez broke his shoulder, out for the season. It's damaged his career. This is the thing. It's sort of like Formula One is a guest here in Qatar at this circuit of the Losail International Circuit, because this is where we're going to be racing in 2023. We're going to a purpose-built street track. But if we do come back to this Losail circuit, I think it'll have to be adapted big time for Formula One. I think gravel needs to come in, maybe some artificial grass that can be laid down and taken up again, just so that there's some physical limit. Because even today we saw Perez, as Gasly, Sainz, all using, and even Leclerc, all using that exit runoff area right round the outside, going all forwards off the track. Is that allowed? Yeah, because we open the Pandora's box. And if Verstappen says no penalty, then everybody not gets a penalty.
Yeah, and since you have to leave us, Josh, on Thursday here in the United States is Thanksgiving, on a day where we sit down with our friends and family and say what we're thankful for. So, Josh, I'm going to ask you, what are you thankful for this year overall in this 2021 year of motorsports?
First of all, happy birthday for yourself for yesterday. Now we're at the end of the show nearly for me in my segment. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you over there in America. I'll be sitting down having a Thanksgiving dinner as well and watching the Macy's Day Parade here in the UK. So even we celebrate over here as well. We like to have common holidays with our brethren over in America. Thankful for motorsport in 2021. It's been a strange year, hasn't it? COVID was still looming over. We've had to do a lot of safety, a lot of COVID testing as well. And it's just been all of the strangest couple of years we've ever seen. One thing I'm thankful for in 2021, I think more than ever, has been the marshals around this circuit as well. Because we've had a couple of marshals who've sadly died in the line of duty as well. And that's never, ever all right. But I think they've been amazing because during a global pandemic, they're out there in the freezing cold, getting ill as well, and then risking COVID as well, while talking with the fans as well, keeping everything on track. Without them, we can't go motor racing. And then a second thing as well, it's all this as well that we've been doing on YouTube for the past couple of years now as well, across my channel, across the Grid Network as well, and even on the BBB Twitch channel I cover, the ERC, all that lot as well. It's been doing all that and being able to commentate and have communication with all sorts of fans across sport. That's a personal highlight for me, and I'm very thankful that I've got that now, because it used to be just me sitting in a room with a mic commentating, and now we've got a streaming software. We go around the world talking to thousands of different people, and I love every single second of it, and I can't wait for more of the same in the next 2 weeks. I can't wait for 2022, which is going to be bigger and better than ever as the world slowly adjusts to the new normal.
2022 is going to be a lot of fun. Great points, and especially with the marshals, Josh. Definitely thank you for your time. We encourage everyone to be sure to visit Joshua's channel on YouTube. You can find the link in the video description. And as he mentions the marshals this weekend at Monza World Rally Championship. Yesterday during the pre-race, they were talking to some of the marshals. They were there at the track from 4 a.m. till 8 p.m. And they're doing this because they love motorsports. They're not getting paid. They're volunteers out in the cold, in the winter, in Monza, waiting for each World Rally Championship car to go by. And in World Rally Championship, one of the cars that went by, of course, Sebastian Ogier, who went on to take the win and the championship over his teammate Elfyn Evans. Ogier's fifth win of 2021 and his 8th championship in World Rally Championship, and this is possibly his final World Rally Championship race. Definitely for full time, he's not going to do that. As he said, he is retiring. He's going to look more into sports car racing. He might come back again, and I would not be surprised to see him do what Sebastian Loeb did, come back, do some races, maybe even be approached by another team to help them improve their program. So never say everything's over until it really is over. The last race, of course, for World Rally Championship in the books. So 2022, pretty big, exciting news for World Rally Championship. They're going to have a brand new car along with Formula One, NASCAR, and Supercars in 2023. Another series with another new car that's going to really shake up the competition. As I mentioned, 2023, the Repco Supercars series. Their final race at Sydney never saw the green flag. Nick Percat took the pole, but the weather never let up. If you watch the Supercars 2 race, you saw that race coming to an early end. The rain was just pounding down on the track. You had a couple cars go off on the main straightaway, just not safe. And then today, just no opportunity to get the race. So it really a really interesting situation in the grid ranking because the race started, but no points were awarded. So it still counts as the race started. You're charged as starting the race, but no points. So nobody scored points. So Shane Van Gisbergen, despite starting the race, his score drops to 19.30. He claimed the Supercar championship, but for the grid ranking championship, essentially comes down to the Bathurst 1000. This one I think is going to be really exciting because now, no championship, he could just go out there and win, and that's one of the easiest ways he could claim the grid ranking world championship. Since Sebastian Ogier won the race but missed the critical final stage point, his score is 19.08. So, for Shane Van Gisbergen to win the Grid Ranking World Championship, third place or better would secure him the Grid Ranking World Championship. Fourth place, if he starts sixth place or worse, meaning he has to pass a couple of cars. Fifth place finish if he starts outside the top 10, and a sixth place finish if he starts 18th or worse. He needs to get past vehicles to earn those precious points, and if he finishes lower than sixth place, Sebastian Ogier will win the Grid Ranking World Championship. So it's all going to come down to the Bathurst 1000. Adam, Shane Van Gisbergen, he won this race last year, the Bathurst 1000. No championship on the line. Is the advantage for Shane Van Gisbergen to go out there and just go for the win? Or is the advantage everyone else? Because now everyone else, you don't have to worry about impacting the championship. They could race him just as hard or even harder for the win.
Well, I think the Bathurst 1000 this year is going to be a fun race to watch. And for those of you who have never watched it, it's a 6 to 7 hour race, and each Supercars team has a co-driver. So not only it's going to, and it's one of the top motorsport races of overall every year. And I believe that now that Shane Van Gisbergen has wrapped up the Supercars championship, Red Bull Ampol Racing has wrapped up the team championship. Shane also won the Sydney Cup this weekend. If Shane were to win the Bathurst 1000, I think it would be the cherry on top of just an incredible 2021 season. We talk about Kyle Larson, how dominant he was in NASCAR. Well, down under in Australia, Shane Van Gisbergen was dominant there too. And I think one reason is that he didn't have to deal with Scott McLaughlin because, well, we all know Scott McLaughlin now competes in the NTT IndyCar Series. So, the Bathurst 1000 is going to be a fun race to watch. No championships on the line, except to win the Peter Brock Trophy, of course. But overall, it's going to be go for broke. It's the last race of the season. Everybody wants to win Bathurst. It's one of the jewels of motorsports across the world. So Shane Van Gisbergen can go out there, run as hard as he can, and now he's won the championship. he has a target on his back because next year everyone's going to be getting after SVG. And one other thing, since Red Bull and Pole Racing won the team championship, next year they have garage stalls 1 and 2. Advantage for them, especially on endurance races, long races where they require pit stops. So we'll see what happens at Bathurst 1000 and in 2022.
2022 and Bathurst 1000. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be following the Bathurst 1000 right here on the Grid Network this next week. We're off because there's no racing this upcoming weekend. And of course, with the holidays here in the United States, Thanksgiving. And one quick correction, I said 19.08. It's 19.17, the score that Sebastian Ogier has in the grid ranking. Still, the scenario is the same. We're 6th place or better if he starts towards the back for St. Frank to claim the grid ranking world championship. And that pretty much concludes our show, but a special shining moment. Tell us all about it, Adam.
Thanks, Joe. It's called. On Thursday here in the United States is Thanksgiving, a day that we eat a lot of good food and be with our friends and family that we all love. It's also a time where we can say what we're thankful for. So in honor of that, I'll start with you, Ben. What are you thankful for this year in 2021 in the world of motorsports?
Sorry, I just noticed I was muted there, so sorry for the pause. But in terms of what I'm thankful for, I guess I've got to go along with Josh and say what we're doing right now. I thank you guys for the opportunity to join you on these programs all throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun to discuss this passion that we share together. And I have to say, in terms of what we see, not just on the track, but off the track, what I'm thankful for is the friendship between Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace. And, I know that a lot of times we see social media can be an ugly place, and particularly every driver's fan base, I think, has a few toxic fans that stand out and kind of get pitted against one another. But I'm grateful that through everything that Kyle Larson went through last year and Bubba Wallace as well, that they have been able to maintain their pre-existing friendship, and maybe it's only gotten stronger through the events of 2020 and 2021, despite the fact that unfortunately we see so much of their fan base and Larson's in particular clashing with Bubba on social media. It's so great to see that the two of them, the actual drivers that represent those fan bases, are able to maintain such a strong friendship and relationship. And I just wish that more of those fans could follow their lead, but it is certainly nice to see.
That is something to be really grateful for, and I have to agree with you. Definitely being here on the Grid Network with everyone, Joshua, Ben, and of course Kobe, who has the day off today. He's enjoying time with his family. Matt White, Daniel Zeri from Racers Girls Behind the Helmet. Definitely thankful for everyone that's making this such a fun experience. And carrying on, one of the big things I'm thankful for is the safety aspect we've had. We've seen some crazy crashes this year. The driver's been able to walk away. Unfortunately, we know there was 3 fatal accidents in the world of motorcycle racing. Still thinking of all their families and friends doing such a hard time. But definitely, I think when it comes to the motorsport season, thankful for the advances we have in safety overall. And we have to also talk about the Formula One World Championship. This is something where a lot of fans thought this was going to be another Mercedes runaway or Verstappen, Red Bull, they could contend. But I don't think we all anticipate 20 races into the season. They're only 8 points separated, and there's the potential they could enter the final race tie. It is something I think a lot of people are going to look back and say, this was the year I got hooked on F1.
Yeah, I'll echo what my colleagues have said. I'm thankful. It's been a real joy and pleasure to work with everyone here at Grid Network this year. As a kid, a lot of my friends have told me since I had knowledge of sports, a lot of my friends told me I had to work at a place like ESPN. Well, I never got that chance, but being here on Grid Network has allowed me to express my motorsports opinions. I've been watching motorsports all across since I was a little kid, and I can say kind of a dream come true. Being here with everyone. I'll be on Grid tonight on Wednesday nights. Being with Josh on his watch along this year, especially the Formula Ones, the two watch alongs, and of course the Grand Prix of Portland watch along with the NTT IndyCar series. I'm just thankful for that. We auto racing back as a whole this year after the COVID-19 pandemic we had last year. Schedules had to be adjusted. There were some fans at the NASCAR races. We could sort of say, we had fans in the stands at motorsports events all across the country. Everyone was doing their part safely as possible. And go back to the marshals. I actually have a friend in Australia who was actually a marshal this weekend at Sydney Motorsports Park. So I understand what she's going through. And I just want to say from all of us here at Grid Network, we want to wish all our subscribers a very happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy the time with your friends and families.
We definitely echo that, and we encourage everyone to be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network right here on YouTube, and follow us on TikTok, all our social media platforms. TikTok, we're at 199 followers, so be number 200. We post content there weekly, including Pick a Winner, which is really intensifying it up. Adam and I are now tied for second place in Pick a Winner, so definitely don't miss any Pick a Winner. And don't miss your opportunity to invest in the Grid Network. Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin are helping keeping us on the air. And if you don't want to do a monthly subscription, be sure to click on the link below to our Buy Me a Coffee. There you can do a one-time contribution to the Grid Network, or buy your favorite on-air talent their favorite drink. As little as $5, up to as much as you want. So definitely encourage you to check that out. And of course, our sponsor, Public.com, $5 in free stock if you enter the GRIDnet referral code. And Publis, if you click on the link below, you're a Grid Network viewer, you get 10% discount on goodies for your pet dog. And we thank everyone for joining us today. Of course, we want to thank Joshua Birch for joining us earlier today, Ben Schneider, and of course, Adam and Lemarys. For everyone here, we want to wish everyone a wonderful week. We'll see you December 1st after the holiday breaks. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, Public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on Public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on Public.com.